Hello, BookTube, and we have another episode of Desert Island Books with Bill Ruttenberg. And yeah, Bill, take it away and tell us about yourself.
Well, again, my name is Bill Ruttenberg at the Ruttenberg Library here. Got a BookTube channel all about books, of course. I've had my channel for about 2.5 years. I am a school teacher. I teach middle school social studies, grades 6 through 8, and then I have a high school world history class as well. Let's see, I live here in the United States in Southwest Iowa. And I'm been married for 20 years, and I have two beautiful daughters. One is 19 years old and one is 5 years old. So we had a little bit of a gap in between our kids, but I love them both the same. So, yeah, like I said, I've been teaching here in Iowa. This will be my 17th year here in Iowa. I taught for 2 years down in Missouri, so I've been doing it a little while. I think I've entered veteran status.
Yeah, we started, I think, our channels roughly at the same time, within a week or two of
Yeah.
each other, I think. Yeah. So what do you do on your channel? Like, what kind of books do you talk about, read, and so forth?
Okay, so on my channel, I read a lot of nonfiction. That is primarily what I put the most time into. Now, I will say, since I've started BookTube, I've read a lot more fiction than what I used to read. My numbers have actually flip-flopped. It used to be about 75% nonfiction and 25% fiction, and those have actually flip-flopped. And I think that's due to, everybody out there, and they're talking about the fiction books. They got me interested. They read a lot faster too. That's another reason. But American history is where I guess specialize, especially the Civil War and the American Revolution.
Okay, good. And you have your 8 books ready for the island. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So let's start.
All right. So this is kind of I wanted to actually congratulate you on all these new things you've been doing on your channel, by the way. I meant to say that right off the get-go. It's been really neat seeing you put together all these, Desert Island and the science fiction reads and the Adventure August or August of Adventures. So congratulations to that. That's awesome. But this is kind of neat because I had an old geography teacher in high school who, when we got done with our lesson that day, he would let us just go explore the world. And I had a buddy in that class, and we would spin the globe. And every time we'd spin the globe and put our finger on it, we always ended up in like Southeast Asia, in the islands, or in Australia or something. And so I have always actually dreamed about living on a deserted island all by myself. And so this was a really neat concept that you came up with. I wanted to, start off and let you know that. I thought that was pretty neat. So the first book that I chose for my 8 books, I chose Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. It's a story about a couple of migrant workers who, during the Great Depression, they're going from farm to farm, just trying to make a living, and they've fallen on hard times just like everybody else. And their dream was to buy a farm and live there together and raise chickens and just live the quiet country life. And I absolutely loved this book. I started reading this. The first time I read it was in high school. It was one of our class reads. And the reason that this book is so special to me is it was the very first time that I can think of that I seriously connected with a book. And, the storyline, many of you have read this. The storyline talks about George and Lenny. And George is the smarter of the two. Lenny is mentally handicapped. And it always reminded me of me and my little brother. My little brother's mentally handicapped. And a lot of the stuff that happens to George in this story is stuff that reminds me of, what happened with my little brother when we were in school, people picking on him and taking advantage of him and stuff like that. And so when I read this, I had a personal connection to it. I automatically, I could feel what the author was trying to get across, if that makes any sense. And so, ever since then, I've read it every couple of years, I'll read it and reread it. And I tear up at the end every time I read the book. The first time I read it, I full out cried. Watched the movie, I was bawling. And not everybody understood that, but it was really that first time I made that personal connection with the book. And, anytime you do that, you know that feeling I'm talking about. Anybody that's read a book and made that connection, it's emotional. It's emotional.
Yeah. So, hopefully, well, we could say the ending did not happen in your real life.
No. I
want to clarify that for everybody.
Yeah, and if you've read the book, I guess I could tell the ending. It's a pretty old book, but George ends up shooting Lenny, and I did not do that to my little brother. He called just the other day. Don't worry, he's still around. But I understood what he was. I could never shoot my little brother. Let me clarify that. But I understood what he was trying to do for Lenny, and preventing the hurt. And I made that personal connection right off the get-go, because I would do anything for my little brother to save him from that hurt. Maybe not quite to the degree that George did, but so anyway, that's my first
Have you read any other Steinbeck, or is that the only one?
I have read, and I'll have to think of is it Cannery Row?
Cannery Row, yeah.
That's all right. Okay, I've read that one, and there's another one. I've read a couple of the shorter ones. I haven't read
Red Pony, possibly.
Nope, not that one. But I have not read Grapes of Wrath, which is on my hit list. I want to read that, and there was a couple of other ones that I saw that I haven't got to them yet.
Yeah, I really want to reread Grapes of Wrath, and I've never read East of Eden, and that everybody seems to like that. So that is something if I ever get back into reading. So maybe we can buddy read for at least Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah. And East of Eden is another one. I have it at home on my shelf and just haven't tackled it yet. So, All right. So you ready for book number 2?
Yeah.
All right. So book number 2. So like I said, I am a history guy. And so historical fiction was like right up my alley. I absolutely love historical fiction. And to actually start the story, I go back to my high school class with Mr. Kenneth Richley. He was our social studies teacher. I took civics with him. I took world geography, world history. I took a whole bunch of stuff with him. Absolutely loved his class. He passed away a couple of years ago, sadly. I was watching BookTube, actually, and somebody was talking about going back and thanking teachers. And I went to look him up to do that, and I found out he had died a couple of months earlier, before I was looking him up. And that was kind of sad. But he was a teacher. He was old school. Not everybody liked his style of teaching. I absolutely loved his style of teaching. And when I told you earlier, spin the globe, and go explore the world. And so he realized that me and my buddy, we like to read a lot. And so he had this whole box of books that he always liked to go back to. And of course, he pulled out The Bastard by John Jakes. And it's volume 1 of 8 volumes in the Kent Family Chronicles. Absolutely awesome series of books. I love them. I know not everybody thinks it's a great series, but I think it's a great series. It got me into reading historical fiction. And when he handed it to me, he goes, "Oh, Ruttenberg." He's got this gravelly voice. You have to imagine, "Oh, Ruttenberg, you're going to love this book. This book here, it's got everything you need. It's got love. It's got violence. It's got death. It's got sex. It's got drama. It's got everything. You're going to love this book." And so I took it from him, and I had tried it in high school, and I just wasn't ready as a reader for it. I didn't enjoy it in high school right off the get-go. Of course, I didn't get very far. I was probably socializing too much, to be honest. But I tried it again when I got to college, and I was taking a summer class at college, and it was early American history. And I am ashamed to say that I was not really doing the daily reads in class that we were supposed to be doing out of our textbook, because I was reading The Bastard. But the good part was that everything we were covering or that I was reading in this book is what we were covering in class. And Jakes does such a good job with his research that when we took our daily quizzes, we'd have a daily quiz as a group, and it was like 10 points a day or something like that. And you'd have 10 questions. And I bet I answered 8 out of 10 questions for our group based on reading The Bastard. And so I really fell in love with this book. It's always been a favorite. I have reread it, well, several times. Matter of fact, Scott over at the Bookish Bryants, was it a year or two ago? We started reading these. We read the first couple, and we were due this summer to do, I think, book 3. Is either 3 or 4. I think it's book 3, but we were going through that. So I've went through it every couple years. Absolutely love it. It never gets old. It's always exciting for me. And when I was taking that class, like I said, he did such a good job with his research, and it got me through that class. And so as an adult, anytime anybody's asked for a good historical novel, I always go to The Bastard. I got a teacher friend here. I was coaching basketball with him, and he was asking for a book. And it's gotten to where the teachers at school, they know I read a lot. So if they want a free reading book, they come to me. What do you got? And so I handed him that, and he got so hooked on that book. We'd get on the bus to go to a basketball game. What's going to happen to Ann? I know something's going to happen to Ann. You got to tell me. I said, nope, can't tell you. You got to wait for the book. But I've absolutely loved that book. And one of the reasons I picked it is I know I could sit and, both of the first 2 books, I could sit and reread them over and over again and still love them every time. So.
Yeah, I never read the whole, all 8. I've read about 5, I think, a long time ago, and they were very enjoyable reads. I don't know why I never continued reading. I just don't remember, but I remember enjoying them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, it's and like I said, it also, with it going in with what I teach and stuff, it just, it kind of blends, so it works well.
Well, and also too, like he's everywhere almost, and he's always in in the right place at the sometimes wrong time, but it's always when something's happening.
Yep, action packed, fast paced. Yeah. I love it, and got a good family story to it that most people, he's got enough flaws in his characters that everybody can relate to the characters. That was another thing I really liked about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, it was good.
So I only picked the volume 1 though, because you said we couldn't do the whole series, and I don't have it in
unless it's an omnibus, then yeah.
So book 3 that I picked was probably one of the first adventure novels I ever read. I absolutely fell in love with the book. Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. This isn't the copy. I actually collect Robinson Crusoe books. And so this is just the one I had handy. I couldn't grab the one I wanted, but I had originally read that in maybe 4th grade or so as a the Scholastic, that the schools would buy. And it was an old Scholastic, and obviously not in the original form. But I fell in love with the story and the idea of being trapped on an island all by myself. And like I said, that just played into what Mr. Richley would do in our high school class when he'd say, go explore one of those islands and tell me something new that you learn. And I ate that up. And Robinson Crusoe's character, you feel bad for his loneliness. You feel lonely right along with him. And then you get that hope that you found a friend, but you can't talk to him, at the beginning. And so, I mean, he runs into all sorts of things that Defoe does a really good job of making you feel for the character. So that was probably my first adventure story. And I absolutely, like I said, absolutely fell in love with it. And it's one that I want to go reread the original version and go through the whole thing. Because I honestly don't know if I've read the original version all the way through. I know I've started it and I got sidetracked. So I want to read the original version.
Yeah, like we're hoping to do it for August of Adventures if we have enough time in the 5th week or the half week of August. And I've got an older version that's from 1832, I think. But it also has the farther adventures or the further adventures of Robinson Crusoe, which I don't think I've ever read. Is the sequel to it. And so that would be interesting if I can get to that as well. But yeah, so but you're going to reread that, aren't you? Didn't you say, I think, for August of Adventure?
I am hoping to join you. My problem is I have a buddy read with Peg on Max Hastings 1914. And I mean, it's a good sized book. And then I have several of them sitting on my desk right now that I need to get read, that my wife is wanting to disappear from the desk. So I got to get them knocked out. And then I know I wanted to join you for, was it week 3? What were you reading in August of Adventures in week 3? What was it?
Tarzan.
Tarzan. Yeah, because I bought Tarzan and I wanted to give it a try because I heard people talking about it so much and I wanted to give it a try. So I'm definitely doing that one with you. And I hope to read Robinson Crusoe as well.
Yeah, that'll be great. Just curious, what's Max Hastings is that? 1914. There's a C in the title, isn't it?
Catastrophe.
Yes, I've got that actually. I've got that.
Do you?
Just never read it. I picked it up with a bundle of stuff several years ago, and it looked really good because it's the first year. So,
well, being a history guy, you would think that I would have read Max Hastings. I mean, he's all over the history magazines and stuff that I read, but I have never read him. And when I took my kids at my 7th grade class. We do a pretty good sized World War I unit. And then I take them to the World War I Museum in Kansas City, which is the National Museum. And every time I go there, I'm always like, man, I want to stop in the bookshop and buy something. And I never buy anything. And then last year I finally bought something, and that's the book I bought. And so it's going to give me an excuse to try out Max Hastings.
Yeah, well, that's good. And that's what I was thinking before. BookTube is bad in the sense of tempting you to buy books or to read things, but it's also a good excuse to read something that you've had sitting for a while, and that's or reread, and that's the great thing, and that's hopefully again with the August of Adventures as well with Robinson Crusoe. Hopefully, you can get to it and read the original version. So that'd be cool.
Well, and I have really loved BookTube because it's gotten me out of my comfort zone. Like I tried Agatha Christie for the first time. I tried, I'm going to try Tarzan. I tried H.G. Wells, the Time Machine, and then I just got done reading The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
And I just bought The Invisible Man. And so, I'm trying stuff that I definitely would, before BookTube, would never have read. I would not have went out on a limb, but I've heard people talk about it so much that I just wanted to give it a try. You're going to be a well-rounded reader. Why not?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, because if it's something that sparks your imagination, but I guess by the sounds of it, you're liking H.G. Wells then.
I am. I wouldn't say it's my favorite because it's just a little different writing style, but I do like it. I like how he uses the symbolism and the social issues of the time period, and just all kinds of good stuff getting mixed into it.
Yeah, no, I really like his writing. Even the non-science fiction stuff. But again, we're digressing again. So let's steer it back to the island.
All right, going back to the island. Okay, so going back to my first 2 years of teaching, I taught recent American history from 1914 to the present. And I taught at West Platte High School for 2 years. And then my wife and I wanted to buy a house. Couldn't afford anything in Weston. It's a well-to-do town, has lots of money. The price of houses is through the roof. And so we thought, why not go back home to her hometown in Bedford, Iowa? And so we did that, found a house for dirt cheap, at least comparatively speaking. And I started teaching here and teaching middle school. And my 8th grade class covers early American history from Columbus all the way to the Civil War. And I would really like to get the Reconstruction period covered, but I run out of time. It's terrible. I run out of time every time. But anyway, I digress. What has become over the last 17 years my favorite topic is Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln is by far my favorite president. I think he was the best president. He handled the nation's biggest crisis, and he did an awesome job with what
you've got 2 or 3 books. And you got 2 or 3 books about Lincoln, is that right? You got 2 or 3 books. Yeah.
I've got a couple. Yeah. My books on Lincoln are about like yours on Asimov. I've got a lot of books on Lincoln. Matter of fact, anytime we go to the bookstore, that's always what I look for first. And my wife's like, do you need another book on Lincoln? I found a book on a while back on his telegraph, his T-mails. And she goes, do you care about his team? I was like, yes, it played a huge role, honey. She just doesn't understand.
Makes sense.
So him with Lincoln being my favorite person to read about in history all time, I had to throw a Lincoln book into this because it just never gets old. And one of my all-time favorite books is, I'm going to get this straight here, Team of Rivals by Doris, Kearns, Goodwin. And this is just absolutely awesome. It covers Lincoln's life, primarily his political life from the election through the Civil War. That's primarily what it covers. But she just goes into such great detail, and she's such a great storyteller when she does it. And one of the things I really liked about this book was the detail that she went into with the creation of his cabinet. And I learned a lot about some of these guys in the cabinet that I did not know about before. And she had a whole chapter in here on during the 1860 election about John Bell of the Constitutional Union Party. And you never see anything on John Bell in any of the other books, or it's maybe, like 3 sentences. And she had a whole big old chunk in here on John Bell. And I was super excited just to learn about these rivals that he came across during the elections, when he put together his cabinet, how he had to maneuver to get things done during the Civil War. Because, he had to dance a fine line to keep everybody happy, or at least to keep them from not being totally mad. And I just think he's absolutely fascinating to read about. And this is one of my all-time favorite books, and it is due for a reread. So.
Yeah, my extent of reading of Lincoln is Sandberg's volumes, and I think one other, and that's it. But they're all old. They're all old books that I've read. But he was. I did go through a period of sort of Civil War era books that I read. I know you've got the Shelby Foote on the counter and the Caxton. Not on the counter, but on your shelves, and that kind of stuff. And I always thinking that I should get back into reading some of that again. I don't know if too much new stuff. I'd like to reread some that I'm very familiar with, because they're comfortable to read in many ways. But I also wanted to say the one thing is Bedford. You're Bedford. I'm Bedford. So it's the meeting of two Bedfords, but thousands of miles away.
Nice. I didn't know it was Bedford that you were from. That's awesome. That's awesome. And another thing I'd like to add into that, you said the Carl Sandburg, even though that's an older book, I can't remember when it was published, but the Carl Sandburg has stood the test of time. That is still one of the best books. And that was the other book that I was, which one do I choose? And Carl Sandburg was buried way down in the corner and I couldn't reach him. So I went with Team of Rivals. That is a really good book. I still enjoy that. So sticking with Civil War theme, since that is my favorite topic, and I guess I need to be specific. I guess my favorite topic is the antebellum period, the period right before the Civil War. Absolutely love the 1850s. There's so much stuff going on. And it's so interesting how we dealt with it. But I stuck with Civil War for the next book. It's another Pulitzer's. So Team of Rivals won the Pulitzer Prize. This book won the Pulitzer Prize as well. And it's from the Oxford University or the Oxford History of the United States series. And it is Battle Cry of Freedom, the Civil War era by James McPherson. And you're going to have to bear with me. The book was buried. I couldn't even see it. I know it's there. I have 2 copies, a paperback, a hardback, and I couldn't get it. But so I just printed a picture of it. But anyway, this is a big old thick book, probably about as thick as the Team of Rivals book. But it covers the antebellum period, the Civil War, and Reconstruction. And in my opinion, James McPherson is still or is the godfather of the Civil War. His stuff is phenomenal. I've read several of his books, not all of them, but several of them, and there has not been one that has made me mad that I have thought, man, this is boring. That has not happened. It is fast paced. It is intriguing. He comes up with great theories on why things happened, and a lot of his stuff I use in my classroom with my kids, and we use quotes from the book and get the kids to thinking about just different aspects of the Civil War. So I have absolutely loved Battle Cry for Freedom, and it's another one that's due for a reread.
Yeah, that series, because it is the series, the history of United States of America. That is a really great series that Oxford has put out, and I'm familiar. I've not read that one, but I'm familiar with it. And I just want to say, yeah, if you want to read something, as you probably are aware, that will make you angry at times, read Shelby Foote or Caxton. Each one in different ways can make you angry in certain places.
Yep, I agree. And that Oxford History of the United States, I haven't read the whole series, but I've read the one on the Revolution. I've read the one on the Civil War. I've read, oh goodness, I cannot remember the name of the author, but it takes it from like the Vietnam War to present. I can't remember the title of it, but okay. I've read that one because I was teaching a high school class that was covering that time period. So I read that. And I've got a couple of other ones in the series that I just haven't read yet, but I have absolutely loved all of them.
Yeah, no, it looks like I say, I've read one or two, I think, in the past, but I don't even know how many there are now, because if they brought it up I didn't even know about the Vietnam War one. I wasn't aware of that one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a great series. Well, it's Oxford, so it's there's a stamp of approval there almost. But yeah, and you mentioned the Revolutionary War. Who's the guy that's doing the trilogy? That looks so interesting. The trilogy.
The military, Atkinson?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got the first one in the trilogy. I don't think the second one's come out yet. I've been waiting on it. I don't think it has, but
I'm not sure, but it looks like it looks like it could be really interesting, because I've heard Steve talk about it and a few other people. I think you have as well, and it just really makes me want to get back reading into American history. At certain periods, just sort of cherry pick, like some Revolutionary War, some Civil War. And the thing I like I always try to throw in with Civil War stuff is like 1860 was when the dime novels started, and all this kind of stuff. There was early science fiction there in the Civil War.
I see, and I didn't know that. That'd be pretty neat to look at. That would be pretty neat. And then, another thing, just to add into that Battle Cry of Freedom, if you are a first-time reader of Civil War stuff and you're wanting to really have a jump-off point, if you look at the sources in the back and you look at his notes and all of that, oh my goodness, it is tremendous. And you will have umpteen million books to be reading on the Civil War. And same way with Team of Rivals. That one was the same way. Looking at their bibliography was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I do like a good bibliography. I like it when the bibliography is like almost a third of the book, and the book is like 800 pages or more.
Yeah, well, the one I'm reading right now on Grant, Ron Chernow's Grant, that's what the back part of it's a good big thick thing. And I found this morning an article by James McPherson that I'm going to look up and try to find it and read it. And I got that from bibliography. So
yeah,
I guess on a deserted island, that's not going to help us much. But
you can make a TBR. You can make a good TBR
when I get off the island. So going back to the books, the next one that I chose was Lonesome Dove by Larry Mcmurtry. And I have read this once all the way through. I've watched the TV series. I bought the DVD set. It was a while back. I think I got it for Christmas, because my wife realized how much I liked it, and she got it for me, and I've watched it several times. Absolutely love it. It's one of the, in my opinion, one of the all-time best Westerns. And I don't have, I say that, I don't have a ton of experience reading heavy into the Western genre. I've read a handful of them, but for me, this is one of the best Westerns or just best pieces of fiction that I've ever read. I really loved Lonesome Dove. I liked that.
Yeah, and I feel left out of all that because I've not read it.
Oh, you need to.
Yeah,
it's good.
You know, it's everybody saying that, and it's like there's a few books that I haven't read, and people going, "How could you have not read those?" You know, and it's like, I don't know. I just
a lot of books.
Yeah, there's a lot of books. That's the perfect answer. There's a lot of books.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, that's the same thing. I totally understand what you're saying. David Herbert Donald's book on Lincoln, one of the premier biographies. I've never read it. I have it sitting on my shelf, and I've never read it. And I've got several of those that are sitting on my shelf that I haven't read yet. There's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But anyway, if you noticed, I have got a little theme going that a lot of these books are, I mean, they're almost 1,000, anywhere from 800 to 1,000 pages, several of these.
Yeah.
So this one was 857 on this one. I did that on purpose because there's a lot of shorter novels that I would like. You know, I was thinking John Grisham, one of my favorite fiction writers. I didn't put any of his books in this list because I wanted something that it would last a while. I'm on a deserted island. I didn't know if you caught that or not. They're pretty good size.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And you get more bang for your buck, as I say.
There you go. There you go. So my next book in my selections here, and remember back to the beginning when I said, Mr. Richley, spin the globe, put your finger down. So I absolutely love maps. I am a map lover. You could have picked any atlas book for this, but this is the one I chose. It was in my classroom. So the Encyclopedia of World Geography, and you know, it's got a little bit of a deal for each country in the world. It's got pictures, maps. Oh, get the camera going. You know, it's got pictures, maps. It's got bigger maps for the whole region, which isn't going to help me much when I'm stranded on my deserted island, but it'll give me something to think about. Man, I wish I was there.
Well, yeah, it's the kind of thing where you can find out where you are and realize how far away from everywhere you actually are. Yep. But then again, remember this island, like it's one island that everybody's going on, and they're all going to be there by themselves. So how does that work out, you ask?
Science fiction?
It's multidimensional. The multidimensional island.
I like it. I like it. But yeah, like I said, and if you ever go to my classroom throughout the school year is always covered in maps. You know, we study different places around the world, and that's why I put that book in the stack. I absolutely love that stuff, and I think if I ever get to go back I have a master's in education, and if I ever get to go back for a master's, I want one in American history, and I want one in geography. So I want a couple master's degrees, and now when that happens, who knows? I got kids to get through college and all that good stuff, but it is a favorite subject of mine. I enjoy reading and studying it.
Yeah, I loved atlases too. When I was younger, Africa was the place that really fascinated me, and I would just, you know, try to get as detailed maps as I could of Africa, and try to. And I was remembering all the, you know, the country, the capitals of each country, and all that kind of stuff, and looking at the, you know, the flow of the Nile and everything, because I'm reading all this other stuff, and reading David Livingstone, you know, going across, or Sir Richard Francis Burton, and sort of, I used to have a map that I would draw sort of where I thought they were, you know, going by reading, and I just love that.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. I did the exact same thing when I'm reading about like Civil War battles, like when Grant's going on campaign and stuff. I always like to have a map sitting out so I can follow where he's at on the map. And same way with like George Washington and the Revolution, that kind of stuff. That's always been a favorite thing of mine to do. And we you know, do a lot of map creating here in the classroom, and just getting kids to read maps, because that's like a lost art form anymore because of the internet. But you'd never believe, like in our neck of the world, most of our rivers flow south, and they think all rivers flow south. And it's always one of those things. No, water flows downhill. And so we get to break out the maps, and show them, because like if you get into like the Colorado area, you have a whole bunch of rivers that all start about the same place, but they all go in totally different directions. And so it's always fun watching the kids the light bulb come on for the kids when that finally sinks in for them. And, maps is the way to do it. So.
Yeah, well, that's why I loved older books too that have the fold-out maps. Mm-hmm. You don't need too many fold-out maps in new books anymore, which is a shame. That's one of the things I really like about old books. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I'd hate to see what the cost of the fold-out book or maps in books would be today.
Yeah,
I bet that would be more than I'm willing to pay. So the last book that I chose for my on the deserted island. There we go. I was about to say desert island. That's not right. Although
no dessert.
It wouldn't be bad. I would take the Bible with me, and I have a student Bible because I'm a dummy and I like to have help in learning stuff. I prefer the NIV, the New International Version. The King James sometimes goes over my head. I know I know a lot of people like that version. It's usually what's in church, in the pews and everything. But I like the NIV because I can understand it a little bit better. But I just think it would be very fulfilling to have my Bible with me because, I mean, you're on a deserted island. For me, I'm going to be, Lord, what do you want me to do now? So, I would like to have that to help me with my faith, and it would definitely comfort me.
Well, it's got everything too, as a few other people have chosen that as well. And it's got everything. It's got thrills, it's got adventure, betrayal, you name it, it's all in there. Did you have a favorite book out of the Bible? Is it in the Old Testament or the New? Well, what book is it? I guess.
I'll be honest. I love Genesis. It's got everything in it. Just the book.
Yeah,
of Genesis.
That's true. Yeah.
I've read through Genesis a few times, and so I really like that, and I really love the book of John, chapter 3. And I know the verse 3, John 3:16. Most people memorize that one, but I like the entire chapter. I love that verse, but I love the entire chapter because there's a whole lot more to the chapter that a lot of people don't get to when they're running through that verse. And I enjoy that one.
Yeah, like I've said before on other ones, one of my favorites is Jeremiah in the Old Testament because I just think it's like whoever wrote it had a bit of sense of humor to him, It's like there's sense of humor there. And I also like Job because Job had it hard.
He definitely had his faith tested.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, because like I'm still sort of working on my 8 picks as well because I'll be doing this, but I'm still. There's still ones that I keep chopping and changing. It's not an easy thing. I just say to people, 8 books, just 8 books. Yeah.
Well, it took me, you asked me a couple weeks ago for my list, right?
Yeah.
And when you first started doing this, I started my list actually. So how long ago was that? A month or 2 ago?
Yeah. We're talking 2 months. I think there's 8 or 9 weeks now that we've done, I think.
Yeah. And so that whole time I had been shuffling books myself.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah. So when you originally Voxered and asked, it was when I said, well, you're going to have to give me a little bit. That was the reason it took me a while, is a lot of shuffling, trying to figure out what to put in, because I had several biographies I would love to put in that I have thoroughly enjoyed reading, but it is what it is. I'm going to stick with the choices.
Well, yeah, because next week it might change. That's the thing. But this is at this point on your trends. On I can't even. The heat has gotten to me here again. It's multi-dimensional island. But it's only going to be 8 books. Period. No ebooks or anything. That's the one thing I wanted to have, because it's too easy just to bring a million books with you on in the palm of your hand. It's too easy.
Yep. Oh, by the way, I have a request. On this multi-dimensional island, I would like the side with water. Fresh water.
Okay, yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. So what did you choose for your music?
Okay, so for my music, I actually chose, and I would have to put it together. There's no actual CD, but my daughter sings, and she does different covers, and then she writes music as well. And so, like on my computer, I actually have a tab with all of her songs, because I've video recorded from the different places that she's played, and I would just turn that into a CD is what I would do, because I love my daughter's voice. It's a little bit different, and she just has a beautiful, beautiful voice, and she does a really good job with all sorts of different genres of music. And then, of course, like I said, she writes her own music, and I think she does a really good job. Her name's Crimson. You can actually find her YouTube channel if you just look up Crimson.
Well, that's the thing. I was gonna say, send me the link to that, and we'll put it down I'll put it down into the description there, as well as everything else. Your channel will be down there as well, and any other links that you'd like to see there. Okay. So that'll be cool.
Yep.
I think I remember you talking about her a couple of years ago, I think, or she used to come on and do some videos with you as well. But she's at college now, isn't she? Or
well, she's got her own apartment, and she got a job, and going home to mom and dad's is only good for laundry and a quick meal. And so no, she kind of slowed down with everything. Like, we were buddy reading Gone with the Wind. And we were going to do, there's like 5 parts to that book, and we were going to do a video over all 5 parts. And I got tired of waiting on her. We started that back in February. So I finished it last month, and you finished it? I said, yes. How long were you wanting me to wait? But yeah, she's got her own apartment. And of course, this last year, she worked for the sheriff's department, and she was a 911 dispatch, and then was the jailer. Oh. And so she got a new job, and this is her 3rd week at the prison over in Clarinda. And so she's working at the prison now. She wants to be a police officer. And so she's getting all this experience, and she's loving it. So we don't see her as much.
Well, yeah, if she's got her old place, does that mean another room for books?
No.
Oh, okay.
I see. Okay, real fast. So that room that became her bedroom 5 years ago, that was my library 5 years ago. Now, if you remember at the beginning, I said my youngest one is 5 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
So my library was taken from me. It was a hostile takeover. And when Crimson moved out, I didn't get the room back. My wife said absolutely not. So I don't know. Compromises.
Well, how big is your living room, dining room, bookcases down the center?
I have recommended that, and it didn't go very well. So, yeah. So anyway, like I said, I would make a CD of her music that she's done, and that would be what I'd listen to.
Cool. And your luxury item.
All right. So my luxury item, as I thought about this, I went back to an old book that I read back in 6th grade. Actually, our teacher read it to us the first time, and then I've read it a couple times since, but Hatchet. And so I chose a hatchet. I'm gonna take a hatchet because there's just so many different things that you can do with that item, and I think it would be very, very handy.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's we've had everything so far. I think you've probably seen the one that Greg took toilet paper. So I just thought, leaves are just as good, and you've got a whole ocean to wash.
There you go. And there's nobody else there. So
yeah.
Oh man, this is going to be on the internet, isn't it?
Yes, it will be. So No, this has been great, Bill. What do you have any plans coming up for your channel? That anything in the short term and then long term? This will actually because I'm getting recordings ahead. You'll be appearing in beginning of September.
Okay.
So when this is hello September.
Well, my plans for my channel is I have been trying to get consistent on getting videos out is what I've been trying to do. So I try to go every other day, and I've found the easiest way to do that is do a bulk of them in one day and then just kind of schedule them ahead. And because I don't want to have like week and a half dead spots, which I had last year at the end of the school year. Sometimes you just get real busy with school and there's just not time to do it. So my goals are, one is to just get consistent. Number two, I have a whole bunch of tag videos. Like I have a Google Doc with tags and there's like over 100 tags on there.
Wow.
And I want to get through some of these tags. And so I've been trying to get a little more consistent. And the problem is every week one or two new tags comes up that I'm like, oh, that'd be neat to do. And so I don't get to the backlist. I do that instead. But anyway, I would like to continue trying to do these buddy reads that I've been doing, and get into the read-alongs like you're doing your August of Adventures. And I want to get involved in that. I don't necessarily want to be like a host in any event because I'm afraid with school and teaching and coaching, and I'll just get behind and then I'm letting a lot of people down. But I just want to be involved. I mean, that's, I guess, really my overall goal.
Well, there's another one that I'm doing for August and September. It's Babylon 5 2022.
Okay, so, I didn't see that one. What is that? What does that entail?
That's reading novelizations from Babylon 5, the TV series. Okay. And it's in direct because this will be halfway through when this shows up. And it's a battle between Book Trek 2022 and Babylon 5. So, we can't let the Federation win.
Well, I would have to go find some books for that one. I remember
they're a little difficult to find now.
Isn't that right? You were doing that's the Book Trek with Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I remember that one. I did not take part in that one. I probably should have tried it, but I did not take part in it. But if I can find the Babylon 5, I would give it a try.
Yeah, they're easy, quick reads. They're like, they're under 300 pages. Some of them are a little difficult to find, but some of the numbered ones aren't. There's also ebook as well. So, yeah. But there's lots of things. And I was just trying to think that we should maybe do something, not anytime soon. I don't want to rush things here because I have a lot on my plate as well. But buddy read of some nonfiction thing that we can sort of, either maybe a little outside of both of our sort of wheelhouses in a sense, like stretching ourselves a little bit that we haven't really done. So not American, not British, maybe something else that you're interested in and I'm interested in as well. We could maybe work something out eventually.
Yeah, Voxer, chat me and send me some choices, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Because I want to get back into reading more nonfiction, and any excuse that I can, I will. It's just this COVID thing is I can still do nonfiction, but slowly, that's the.
And I was wondering, I was going to ask you about this if you don't mind asking, how much layovers from COVID are you still battling?
Quite a bit. It's like I still don't hardly have any taste or smell. I got like every injury that I previously had in my body is aggravated. I don't really sleep properly. I rest, so I need about anywhere from 14 to 18 hours a day rest, because I don't sleep properly. So there's good times. And then when I start crashing tired, I'm out of it. And brain fog. Yeah, I could go on.
Well, my whole family got it back in November. And it was like the second week of basketball, first week of basketball games. And it hit me right there. And I missed, what did I miss? I missed at least a whole week. It was a little bit more than a week of school. And see, my wife, she got hit with, she still doesn't have her taste or smell. And most foods that we eat, that we have ate for the 20 years of marriage, she can't touch them. They're just disgusting to her. She can't drink coffee anymore. Can't have onions in her food. Can't. I mean, the list goes on and on. And then my youngest, or my two daughters, neither one. I mean, they got it, but it didn't really affect them. And then for me, it hit me with the brain fog, and I'm still battling that a little bit. It's getting a little better, but I mean, the other day I went to pull out on the road, and I stopped in the middle of the road because I couldn't remember if I needed to go left or right. I couldn't remember where I was even going.
Yeah, no,
it was bad.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I hate is that there's a word there, and you can't get it to your tongue. It just won't come, and so you have to describe around it. I remember reading something about this one guy saying he couldn't for about 8 months say the word dog, so he had to describe what a dog was, and that's exactly it. Or forgetting how to do things. It's like I'd be occasionally downstairs at the stove, and it's like, okay, I want to fry some eggs, but how do I do that? And it's just like, it's a simple thing, and you just can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mine was sitting and it was so frustrating because I've always been really good with pretty good with recall. It's like in college, if I was in class, I remembered it. If I heard it, I remembered it. And then I could, spew it out. And I was in class this year and last year, especially last year. It was this year. See, I can't even remember when it happened. But I would be talking and teaching, and I'd be telling one of the side stories that goes with it. And I would stop in the middle of the story because I couldn't remember the story. I couldn't even remember what I was talking about. And it had me so frustrated. I'd go home. There was days I went home in tears because I was that frustrated because I felt useless almost. It was terrible.
Yeah, no. And it's definitely not fun. And with regards to taste, that is interesting that you're saying about your wife, because for me, it's like I can taste stuff now, but most things don't taste like they used to.
Yeah, and that's what she's dealing with.
But I found 3 things that taste normal. Right from the beginning, when I first had COVID, and again, this is the bugger. I caught it while I was in hospital. Okay. So, but I could taste apple juice and apples. And then I found out I could taste garlic, which I like garlic, which is fine. So I started eating tons of garlic, garlic powder and everything, because I wanted to taste. And then at Christmas, somebody bought me a small 15-year-old bottle of Glenfiddich single malt whiskey. And that tasted fine. So I've got 3 things that I can taste.
Oh man, what a combo.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wouldn't want to, taste-wise, it might work the way my taste buds are, but I don't think my insides will like it.
No. No, my taste and smell, I lost it for that week, and it extended for about a week and a half after that. But then everything's back to normal with me as far as that goes. But she still has nothing.
Yeah.
It's not normal anyway.
How was your breathing? Because mine was pretty. I had to sit for almost 2 months. I couldn't lay down. When I came back from the hospital, I had to sit here and rest because every time I laid down, it was really bad. Like so bad, I had to call the ambulance a couple times.
Well, during the week, my oxygen, because we got one of those little deals you put on your finger to get your oxygen levels and all that. And I was really low, extremely. I probably should have went to I know I should have went to the hospital. I was kind of bullheaded about things. There were probably 3 or 4 times I should have went to the hospital in that week I had it, because my oxygen levels were way, way low. And it wasn't fun. It wasn't good.
No. Yeah. I hope everybody's okay with this. We sort of strayed into COVID stories here, but I think it's relevant. Let's put it that way. It's very relevant. But yeah, no, this has been great, Bill. And stick around for a few minutes after I finish the recording. But yeah, send me all the links, and we'll put everything down at the bottom. And yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say about your channel or anything at the moment, or?
No, I don't think so. I just appreciate you having me on. This, like I told you at the beginning, this is an awesome idea. I think everybody's really rolling with it. They like it.
Yeah.
And it's go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's turned out better than I thought it was. I knew it was a good idea. In my head, it was a good idea. But when you get it out there, it's for other people to say, you know, and it's taken off well, and I hope it'll continue. So yeah, again, thanks, Bill, and bye, everybody. We'll have another Castaway next week.